Hi, welcome to Business Influencers. My name is Chris Salem, your host. We want to welcome all new guests and listeners to our show. Again, we continue to grow here at the Touch of Life Foundation radio platform called TALRadio. And again, if you have any questions in terms of any subject matter content that you would like to hear for future shows, feel free to reach out to us at chris@christophersalem.com. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types, an opportunity to meet new people for the first time, and rekindle any old relationships that you've had from your past. This is a membership program, meaning that it takes all the noise out of social media, so no more of those notifications that can bog you down. You allow yourself to come in at any time to generate genuine and authentic relationships and share content that resonates with you and the people that you're interacting with. And plus, since this is a membership program, you'll be eligible to receive a wide array of different services that can be relevant to your personal life and business that are not offered to the general public. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we have a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about leading a living organization. This is going to be really a good one and very interesting content you're going to hear today. We have our guest here, Vitaly Geyman, and he is passionate about enabling others to lead with an owner's mindset, which he terms disruptive leadership. His work involves liberating CEOs from being the only ones who can make a high-level decision, freeing up their time to be more strategic and creative. His goal is to help create high-performing executive teams that lead highly entrepreneurial, customer-inspired living organizations. And without further ado, we welcome Vitaly Geyman to the show. How are you doing today?
Hi, Chris. Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure.
Well, we are such an honor to have you. And before we start, Vitaly, let's talk a little bit about getting some clarification around, first, what is disruptive leadership? And then if we could talk about the concept of a living organization.
Okay. Actually, it's distributive leadership.
Oh, distributive. Excuse me. My bad. Distributive leadership. My bad. Sorry.
But it's highly disruptive. It is.
Yeah, but it is disruptive in a good way.
Yeah, perfect. It's perfect because I loved it. I never thought of it. It is very disruptive. It is. I'm going to break the rules of interviewing, and I'm going to ask you, Chris.
And that's disruptive, and we encourage that here at Business Influencer because disruption to us is a good thing. It makes things move forward.
Right. And this is going to be a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So as a leader, what I would do is I would say, hey, Chris, what a great question. Why don't you try to answer it yourself first?
Well, Chris, I would say, distributive, when I think of distributive, I would think that in order for leadership to really have impact, we have to be that example. We have to continuously, through self-leadership, self-awareness, which is emotional intelligence and self-regulation, to really learn how to lead ourselves. Because we can learn to lead ourselves through our communication, our behavior, our attitude, our emotions, how we respond versus react to situations and people, and our action. Through that consistency, we're inspiring people to now see that, whether if they know it consciously or subconsciously, to perhaps now do that for themselves. So that creates that. So that in a way is distributing that leadership to other people, that when we can all lead each other, lead ourselves, we can then as a team lead upward moving forward. So that's kind of like how I look at it, but I'd love to hear where your perspective is, since you are the originator of distributive leadership.
Well, I'm definitely not original. I steal everything from everybody. disclosure. I don't know where I stole
that's
that
a
one.
great thing about leadership is transparency. We love that.
No, I stole it from somewhere. I can't remember where I stole it from. So that's no, I didn't steal it. I borrowed it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, but I just love the word distributive leadership. Oh, and there's so many ways of it. I think you got the essence of it though. It's like first it's role modeling, right? It's kind of like you know, we said at the start we're going to talk about a living organization, and what is a living organization? Well, first of all, it's a living being, right? Where a leader is a living being, recognize himself not as a machine, but as a living being. And it's very much, in some respects, very much like families. I mean, family, if you think the best example is family, right? You have mom and dad and then kids and so on, right? Okay, dad is a leader of the family, or kind of mom is a leader of the family. If the kids look at you, not what you say, but what you do, right? They're going, Dad, really, honestly, you're telling me to clean up the room, but look at your mess, right? And so even a 3-year-old can work this one out. If the leader doesn't walk their talk, they're in trouble, right? Doesn't matter what they say, they are not in alignment, they're not authentic, they don't have they're in contradiction, right? And what so the first thing you're correct, you know, we need to role model, we need to walk our talk as leaders. The second part to it, though, is recognizing, I think it was a Zen, some kind of a Zen book I read. I think it was the Zen of Leadership. One of the early books I read one time, How to Lead Without Leading. And I go, what do you mean? Again, those Zen koans, lead without leading. What does that mean? Well, the truth is, yeah, the measure of a leader, they were saying, is not how charismatic or how wonderful they look on television or whatever, but it's more how many leaders have they created in their path. So great leaders create thousands, hundreds of thousands of leaders behind them, right? Egotistical leaders think they're the only leader in the company, right? So then distributive leadership is more, how can you distribute the function of leadership that everybody is a leader at some level or another, right? How do you even think that way? It's like, I have 100 people in the company. No, I don't have 100 employees. I have 100 leaders. Right? They don't recognize themselves as leaders yet. But my intention is to create 100 leaders out of this company.
Yeah.
Wow, right? You see now we have, instead of one guy thinking and 99 guys doing, we have 100 people thinking, right? And 100 people doing. The performance goes through the roof. All of a sudden, it's not, Dad, no, can you go and clean my room? Can you help me with that? Can you help me do this? It's like, no, Dad taught the kid to be self-independent, owner, or leader of his own bedroom, at least the bedroom. Okay, might not take care of the house, but at least his territory, he takes care. So in other words, he becomes the CEO of his area of responsibility. He still like he could be a cleaner within a, you know, he does toilet cleanings in an office building, but he is the boss of the cleaning department. And if the customers don't like it, he gets fired, right? So he's driven by the customer, and yeah, he might be paid as an employee, but he needs to think of himself as an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
How do you get to do that in a company where today, if you honestly look at it, there's only like 2 or 3 people think at the top, 2 or 3 people are strategic, 2 or 3 people bring in most of the work, particularly in small companies.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reality. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and then the rest are going, that, you know, okay, you bring me a project, I'll do a good job. I go, really? Like I'm facing right now, some companies, to be honest, I have a company of 100 people, and the owner says, listen, guys, I can't do it anymore. Like, I can't feed you all, right? What if we're going to go to 200 people? You expect me to do twice as many customers? And I'm running a company, I'm doing projects, I'm doing everything. And you want me, no, why don't you go and bring your own projects? What? I'm an engineer. I don't go and do selling. What? No, you know, go and get yourself a salesman. Where is the leadership? Just gone.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I said to the CEO, whose fault do you think this is? And he goes, their fault. I go, no, it's your fault. I go, why? Because you brought them up that way. It's the kids. You did it for them all their life, and then you expect them to change.
That's how they're conditioned. Yeah.
They're conditioned that way. You brought them up. You created a system for them to be disabled, right? And he goes,
So
no.
true.
I
It's
go,
kind of like people could say that about, I mean, the school system. I can't speak for over in Europe, but definitely in the United States, there's always, questions to how the schooling, how we groom people to be employees, not leaders.
exactly. Yeah, we condition to them. We give them test to task. They don't think. They just go, oh, as long as I pass the test. I was a professor for a while. Excuse me. I go, yeah, what question do you have? How do I pass this test? I go, wrong question.
Yeah, I can. People can memorize. Doesn't mean they understand it and can implement it.
Yeah. So I'll give you. I mean, I was a professor. I had 140 students in each class, 8 classes. So a lot, 1,000 almost people, right? So my disruptive, thank you for that disruptive leadership, was I walked into a classroom one day and I said, this is not happening. They're just here to pass the test. They're falling asleep, right? I said, guys, no more tests. The tests are abandoned. And they go, what? Well, how am I going to pass this class? He goes, okay, I'm setting a project. And the project is, what am I passionate about? I was teaching marketing and business management. So what am I passionate in marketing? And you have to choose your own passion. And you have to go and research it yourself. And then you have to set your own standard for passing this project, right? And then I'll evaluate it. We'll agree together if it's a good standard, and I'll still help you design. You go, what do you mean? I set my own standard for passing a project. Like, and what do you mean? I have to choose my own topic of interest. Like, what are you talking about? Where is the book that I need to read? I go, there's no books. And it was a revolt. They all went crazy on me. They complained to the head of department. They walked out and they said, this guy is creating a riot, right? He's not giving us the standard stuff to pass the test. I said, why are you here, guys? So the next question, I said, why are you here? Anybody here who absolutely loves marketing, like business to business marketing? Hands up. It was like out of 140, maybe 3 hands. I go, guys, are you serious? Like, what are you here then for? And says, I need more points, so I thought marketing would be a good one. My dad actually paid for the course. My boss said I need a marketing certificate. I said, anybody here loves marketing? Silence. I go, guys, we have a problem. We have 137 students here who don't care for the subject. Yeah. Right? How can you be a leader when you don't care for the subject?
Yeah.
And I said, well, what are we supposed to do? I said, well, half of you got to go. The other half have to find some kind of your own passion. But then I realized we already conditioned them. These were like 18-year-old to 24-year-olds. We already conditioned them by that stage just to kind of come in, and pass the test, And I said, we have a problem because these kids are now in our organizations, and they're 30% engaged and 70% disengaged. And as a business manager, I manage large companies as well. 70% of my money is going nowhere, right? I'm only getting 30% on a dollar out of my people.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, and how do we break? And to break that conditioning, Vitaly, it's not always an easy thing to do, but it's one person at a time. So that distributive model that you're talking about, that if people can now, be responsible for themselves first, then be that example for others, because we can't give what we don't have.
Exactly. So I'm not saying it's easy, right? But I don't think it's going to happen in the new organization where we have particularly millennials. If you don't know how to engage them into a leadership, into an ownership mindset, you're kind of in trouble as an organization. Doesn't matter what you do then, it's not going to work because they have to execute it ultimately, what you do.
Got it. Now, what would you advise now with companies that, that are, showing that they're open-minded, or at least starting to show signs for the first time that they're open-minded by adopting a living organization? What can you give us an idea what that process looks like? What is the first steps? How long does it take to start seeing some of the evidence in terms of how the living organization is now helping them to move forward?
Sure. Good practical. I thank you for asking it. It's a practical question. Okay, so let's say you did assume, oh, I get it. I need to turn my people into leaders. They need to think for themselves. The first thing I believe is you need a shift of paradigm. You need a shift of how you think about the organization. Right now, we think organizations are more like kind of machines you program. You know, I'm the smartest guy and a bunch of executives, and I design the master plan, the business plan, the strategic plan, the whatever plan, and they go on it and implement it. It's the same like I build the book, right? The book, and then you have to go and pass the test. It's the old disengaged model, right? What if we thought about that organization itself is a living being, right? It is itself a unique living being. Even not just each person as being, but organization, and it has a certain destiny to fulfill. It has a certain purpose for being, right? It has its own style of operation, has its own personality, right? Did you know, like, I don't know if you've seen that ad, Microsoft versus Mac, and the Mac is like casual, relaxed, sitting there, and Microsoft is all buttoned up, sitting there, right? Different personality, right? Yeah. So that's the beginning is like, oh, my company is like this. It's an introvert. It's technically focused. It doesn't like going out there. So I understand my company is a living being, but the environment is shifting. I need to have much more leadership, much more proactive, much more customer interaction, much more innovative thinking. Right? I can't have the what do they call the gig, or what do you call the guy, the computer geek?
Oh, the nerd?
The nerd. Yeah.
Yeah.
The nerd era is over, right? Right. They're all sitting in their bedroom trying to design things, right? Right. I need communicative people who can communicate between each other, who can listen to customers, identify new projects, and so on, right? So you say, wow, but how am I going to shift from there to there? Well, yes, it does take time, right? The fortunate thing is if you have a small organization, it will take much less time, right? If you have 5 people, I can do it in 3 months, right? If you have 100 people, maybe it's going to take a year, right? If you have 500 people, it might take a few years. But this is the kind of the time frames if you're 100% committed, right? Because, you can say, it's like studying a subject. You can say, how long is it going to take to become a great radio host? How much are you committed, right? How many hours are you willing to put in?
It's the commitment, that discipline and that commitment and that consistency every day.
Exactly. And how many hours are you willing to, how much resources are you willing to commit, right? So if some organizations say, we want to take it slow, and that's, by the way, that's also fine. Okay. Okay, it might take 3-4 years, right? Someone say, listen, this is a priority number 1. I need to shift my organization towards, where everybody's a thinker, everybody's an entrepreneur. I want a living organism that's adaptive to the environment. I don't want anymore to be the only guy thinking. Then, within 6 months, you'll see some solid results. And we will start with the executive team first, right? We will put them through training. We will find out where the gap is between where they are and where they want to go, right? As a living organization, there is always a gap. We will measure their capabilities, the maturity level, right? The systems that supporting that. So we have a pretty holistic system, and we will be able to tell you is that, listen, given that where you are in terms of your leadership capabilities, your systems capability, your marketing and sales capabilities, etc., your culture. Right. You will need X amount of time to get there, right? And then we'll design small chunks. It's not going to be like sprints. We call them developmental sprints, where we will take 3 months, 90 days, and we will maybe fix the marketing system. Then we'll take 90 days, maybe we will develop a strategy, a sales strategy. Another 90 days, and we'll develop before you know it, having 3 or 4 sprints. Each sprint delivers very clear results by the end of 90 days, right? Like each project. You will see every 90 days very clear performance results, right? And that's how you build it, is bit by bit, right?
Bit by bit. I like that. That's a process, like you said.
It's a process.
Yeah.
If you try to do it too fast, if you try to do everything in one go, it's always too much for people, too much disruptions, right? So you usually start where it hurts the most, right? Maybe for you it's the marketing system. Maybe it's for you is your leader, your departments are siloed. They're not talking to each other, right? So it depends where each company is different, right? Because it's a unique living being, right? So they have different weaknesses.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. And Vitaly, I mean, when you're looking at this process, and it's one step at a time, would it be, say, like, if we're working one person at a time, but working in smaller groups and then doing it that way, we're not trying to work everybody at the same time, because obviously that could be very difficult, to manage, but kind of working in smaller groups and then working from there as it spreads outward.
It depends, right?
Yeah.
It depends. Like I have companies that say, "No, please don't touch our whole company. I don't want you to disrupt my cash flow. Thank you very much. Just go and." I have this outcasts in Australia. Go. I have a little team there. Go and start with them. And if it works there, then we'll go to the headquarters. Sometimes it's a good safe bet, right? You start with a small project. Other times, I have a company that came to me and says, "Vitaly, I have 100 people. I want to start at the top. I want to shift the narrative, the story of the company. I don't want to start anywhere on outskirts. I want to start with my top executive team, because if they don't buy into it, we have no hope in hell to change the rest of the company." So with them, I brought in all executives in one room. I said, "Guys, we need to be more adaptive. We need to be more customer focused. We need to build more leadership, more disruptive leadership, right? We're not thinking on our feet. We're doing too much, status quo. How can we do that, right?" It's actually, the specific example is we only had one salesperson. That's the CEO in this company, right? And he said, "Are you kidding me? I can't do that anymore. I can't bring enough projects." So we developed this new concept called crowd selling, right? We're going to sell as a crowd, right? Not as just individual. Individuals will sell, but we're going to sell together, and everybody's response. All executives. The CTO will speak to the CTO in the company. The marketing person can speak. So we're going to kind of have a gang approach. It's like, I don't know if you're hunting the dinosaur, right? Together as a team. Right?
Yeah.
So
I like that concept. I like it.
Yeah, so it's crowd selling.
No, it's definitely some really great points and what you illustrated there in the process. And I think this is so important more than ever in this period of where we are in business and just in life in general. And like you said, like if it's a living organization, things are going to evolve and nothing's going to it's just going to be the same. It's going to evolve, and there's going to be some mistakes and obstacles along the way. That's all part of it. But without them, we can't grow without obstacles. Can you share some more insight to that?
You actually mentioned the magic word, right? Most people want to create revolutions in organizations, right? We want to create evolutions.
Yes.
Step by step, very small steps. I once spoke to an executive, and he took over a very large energy company. Energy companies are not known for their like super fast movement, right? They're like very like government, right? But he had to turn it around because they were losing money like left, right, and center. I said, "How are you going to do this? This is like 100 years old energy company. Everybody is very comfortable there. They have pensions, they have unions." He said, "Vitaly, I'm gonna have one step, but I'm gonna have 100 little steps at a time. First, I'm gonna change the performance system a little bit. Then I'm gonna adjust this. Then I'm gonna adjust this. Then I'm gonna adjust this. But I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna keep doing it a little bit at a time in micro adjustments and fine-tunements. I know they can't handle too much revolution. They're going to go crazy on me. But it's kind of like cooking the frog. I hate that example because animal people like go crazy. Okay, let's throw out that example.
Nah, I get it. We get it. It's like Brian Trey, eat the frog. It's the term we used to use. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just like small adjustment, but very consistent adjustment. And the other thing is the main thing is not to scare the people into because we call it change management, which I hate that word, right? But we need to acknowledge that people also resist this kind of, because they don't understand why we're doing it, how it's going to affect them and so on, right? So if you introduce too much change too soon, it can backfire on you. Plus it creates disruption to your cash flow. And then all of a sudden, instead of going forward, you're just losing money. And if you start losing money, the board of directors is going to come in and shut you down, the whole project, right? So we want to keep the cash flow going, right? And what we want to do is improve the cash flow and not reduce the cash flow, right? So we're going to choose very strategically which projects we do first, right? And I like to start very often at the sales end, because if I can improve the sales leadership styles, it's going to bring more money, and it's going to signal to the management and the board of directors, ooh, we can make more profits, we can make more revenue this way. The living organization is profitable. When you signal that, they go, oh, I'm listening, right? Because money talks. And then, of course, when they see, oh, but we also have to change our attitudes, right? But you know what I mean? I don't want to start with something that's only going to create havoc. I want to start with a positive financial situation.
No, absolutely. This is great information. And I definitely would like to expand on this. And I know you got more to share, but we only have a few minutes left in the show. But I wanted to see if you could leave the audience with really like just an impact statement, or like just in 20 seconds, something that can really get them to embrace this concept of distributive leadership and leading in a living organization.
Okay, maybe what's coming to me is it's a 10-year-old study, or 15 years of study course. I think it's called Firms of Endearment. Firms of Endearment. It's a long study, a longitudinal study of companies, I think S&P 500, who outperform the top performers on the stock exchange, right? Because a lot of people saying, oh, does this really work? Does this really work? Well, they found over 10 years that companies that truly build living organizations, right? These are public companies, these are not private, although they're big companies. They outperformed an average company by, I think, a ratio of 12-1. They were more. Their shares rose much quicker, right?
Yeah.
By all metrics, when we measure now living organizations, they are more adaptive, right? They are more profitable. They live longer, right, as an organization, because a lot of organizations are dying, literally are dying because of disruptions in technology and so on. And so I don't even see any other way. If you want to keep an organization that is a high-performing, sustainable organization into the future, you need to adopt at least some of this. I'm not saying all of it, but at least some of this.
Yeah. Powerful stuff, Vitaly. Thank you. And I know we want to have you back on for round 2 for this, to kind of expand on this. But how can the audience get to know you better, what you're up to, and anything you like to share with them?
Quantumleaders.com. So, because we're talking about quantum paradigm here, a quantum shift in how we run organizations. So quantumleaders.com. You can download a white paper right there. When you get to the top, there's a button, download white paper. It's free, and then read about it. It's fairly comprehensive, and it's a good start to get to know us.
Wow. Well, we highly encourage everybody to reach out to Vitaly and Quantum Leaders here. This is fantastic information. I hope everyone got some great value. And those that will be listening later, again, take advantage of that and reach out to Vitaly on LinkedIn. We'll provide all that information also here in the show notes. Vitaly, thank you so much for taking the time today to share with us your insights to distributive leadership, or what I mentioned, disruptive, because I think that's a good thing, and how to lead in a living organization. Thank you so much for your time today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, listeners, for joining us each and every week here at Business Influencers. We're committed, again, to bringing subject matter experts like Vitaly in to share their words of wisdom and insights to take your level of influence in business to the next level. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week.